Welcome. Friday morning, Friday afternoon, Friday evening, whenever you're listening. Please take a pen and paper, pull over to the side of the road if you're driving. Mark down June 6th at, I guess I don't even know what time are we going to do this at? What time, Dane? Give me a time. 7 o'clock. What time is Arsenal Pass doing theirs? We want to do it different. I think they're doing 7 Eastern. So should we say 8
what
Eastern?
If I which would pull these out? Oh.
Give me a time.
Let's do.
I mean, we can.
9 o'clock Eastern. That's 8 our time.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. 8 our time.
Yeah, that works for me.
What day of the week?
Yeah, we just made that right here live.
Monday,
June 6th, live, like Monday, we always do.
8 p.m.
Monday, Central. We'll go 9 p.m. Eastern time, since that's a very well-known time zone. One of the most well-known time zones. And that's the opening for today's podcast. So I hope everybody enjoyed that. Let's get into it right away, just like that. Super exciting opening. You have 3 cards there. So
I do. Dane, and they're fucking gorgeous.
You have 3 cards.
Yep.
Do you think...
Could we give them a little, just like a little something,
different
something
ones?
about it?
3 different ones, 3 same. I mean, is that red, blue, yellow, or is it just 3 different cards?
I don't think we're supposed to say red, blue, yellow. That gives away some of the information, right? I think.
Yeah, we can't give away. Technically, can't give away information. So what is as close as we can get to towing that line without actually getting in trouble?
We got 3 cards.
We have 3 cards. They are all cards. No, they are.
I'm gonna give a huge hint.
Oh,
these cards follow the class, cost curve, and card makeup perfectly.
See.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's like giving away no information, but giving away information.
See, the information that we gave away though is that they're not generics now.
Correct.
They're not.
There we go.
They're not generics. All right.
There you go.
It'll be interesting as these come out because they start this weekend. So spoilers start this weekend. Pretty excited. I'll be honest. There's 2 things that I'm very excited for, and that is 2 living legends, because we'll assume he'll get his wins. Which I'm gonna play Lex
3.
Sunday, but it kind of makes me want to play Chane again, because I topped 8 with him, and
like a last hurrah.
I know I have a chance you could win with him. He's good enough to win, and I want to help propel him to that next level. Because as much as I enjoy playing him right now, I want to see him gone.
Yeah,
I do enjoy playing him.
Yeah,
it's the whole husk. I think if it wasn't for the husk, I wouldn't hate that deck as much. And I know that's weird, but husk blocks the perfect thing at the perfect time, especially if you're playing a Guardian. It takes away that big hit at the perfect moment with a 6 block.
I kind of like Husk as a mechanic. But sorry, go ahead, Blake.
I was just going to say, I don't mind Husk as a card. I just wish it was a Shadow Brute card, not just a Shadow card. I think that's my big gripe with it. Yeah,
it does feel weird having Chane, like just strictly thematically. Like, what's he doing walking around with like a T-Rex torso around it? Like, could you imagine him actually wearing Husk to a battle and being like, big attack block, and now I'm all nimble.
It's weird. It also follows, like, if you look at it, everything about it feels brutish in terms of the way it's constructed. It feels like it fits Levia because it's a 6 block, which 6 in the banish zone is where it goes, and then it's blood debt that she can shut off, so she can use it whenever she wants, versus like Chane will basically only use it when he's about to like lose it. And like everything about it feels correct for Levia, and it's always felt wrong for Chane, and it's always driven me nuts for Chane, because I don't think, like, one thing that I wish or I hope for in the future of Flesh and Blood with card design is I would prefer Aggro to be designed similar to Ninja in terms of their armor suite, because I think that that feels like a good punishment. Like, okay, you're really aggressive. You have a ton of aggressive power in your cards. But if someone can return fire, you can't just throw a bunch of armor in front of it and get a free turn to maintain tempo. Like you have to determine whether you're just going to take a ton of shots and then try to return fire, or if you're going to be a defensive, fighter for that turn. And it's the same as like, I wish more. Like I like Briar now that she doesn't have now with her errata text. I think it's great. She plays a lot of 2 blocks. That's a good punishment for a really aggressive deck, is to say, hey, you can be really aggressive. You can have 30 damage turns, but you don't get armor block. That you don't get armor block. Your card should block for 2 a lot of times. Like that's your punishment, is you can do a lot of damage with your cards. You can do a lot of damage with your attacks, but you don't in turn get like free block out of them or free block out of equipment. And that's where like with the Husk just feels wrong with Chane. Like the dude, he blocks 40 with his armor. It's ridiculous.
I would like to see more temper and blade break style armor in the game in general. I think a lot of classes, I wouldn't mind seeing a 2 temper or a 2 blade break, excuse me, like Ranger getting some more 2 blade breaks, like Perch Grapplers.
Yeah,
where you have it, where you can use it. Right. Have 2 different ways to do it. Hood's only one, but you literally can't use Hood.
Oh, is Hood only block 1? I thought Hood blocked 2.
Yeah. But
Horizon blocks for 2.
Yeah.
Horizon.
Oh, Horizon. Yeah, I'm thinking of Skullcap's only one though, isn't it? Or are they both 2?
Cross wrap is 1. Yeah.
Okay. I wouldn't mind seeing a chess piece or something, or some arms for her that's a two blade break. Where it gives you the same option of Perch Grappers, where like turn 2, you want to get tempo for the rest of the game with Lexi, you go off and have a bunch of go again arrows on your 3 of a kind turn, and it basically does more than block for 2 because of the tempo you got from using it. So just things like that. I like that interaction of decision points. The game, and we've said this 100 times, but the game at WTR was a decision point game that every little thing mattered. How you blocked, how you set up your next turn, the back and forth was huge.
Well,
and then they just made some decks that the back and forth was gone. I mean, I lost in round 1 in the ProQuest to Starvo, who had 4 cards in the graveyard at the end of the game. 4 cards at the end of the game, never blocked 1 time, 2 Oaken Olds and a Pulse of Volthaven. So that to me didn't feel, and it's no fault to who I'm playing. They get the cards, they play them, it's good hands, and you win. But I'm hoping that is not as prevalent with Uprising. I want that to go away. I really want that to go away.
It's gonna just be a balance, like they gotta reestablish that balance, because I think it's still there. Like all those decision points are still there. It's just a matter of the amount of them and how specific they are to different situations. You know what I mean? Like it's still there.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying about decks leaning away from it.
Just like, I'm not going to block. If you don't kill me, I'm not going to block.
Yeah. I get that. I get that. Like there are decks outside of like that more. I mean, because WTR and even with Arcane a little bit, like you felt outside of playing something just less optimal like Azalea, you felt like everything was pretty well balanced. It came down to how well you piloted your deck, because there wasn't a ton of tertiary mechanics and like all these like little things that maybe leveled or pushed past like the standard power level, whatever it might be. You had those decision points. So yeah, I get what you're saying there. Like it was a much more simplistic, back and forth mattered, right?
You can still have power creep in a game, but keep the core mechanics there, because you can creep it on both sides, where you can build a deck that can go more defensive. And just by giving those dominate attacks with it was just such a powerful mechanic that.
Yeah. For sure.
Just like Turiel's Briar, just like Seeds Chane, and they recognize Seeds Chane was
you start getting into like some wild stuff though. Like, I mean, Aura Prism, how do you balance that against like the back and forth mechanics? You know what I mean? Like they just are adding so much into it now that it's just going to be harder and harder as they go.
No, but I think we've learned, as much as I dislike Prism, she's 100% beatable. But I will also say this about Prism with a poor pilot gets absolutely rolled like no other deck. In Prism with a great pilot can win games it shouldn't. That deck really punishes a bad player, and if you're a great player, that deck will shine. Which
gives you the tools. Yeah,
right. I don't hate it as much because that skill level cap is so high with her. I've played it, and it's hard. It's hard to sequence your turn properly, especially against an aggro deck that is meant to beat that.
Yeah. I think, I mean, it falls into the category, right, of things like Kano or even like the more modern Chane where the decision points become very layered. It's like, okay, if I do this, I can't do that. So if I do A, I can't do B, but I can do C. If I do B instead, I can't do A, but I can still do C. So which one of those two things potentially gets me, like playing an Art of War? Is it the right time to play it? Do I think I'm going to draw the right cards, or am I going to get super punished and draw a couple reds, not be able to do anything with it, and burn an Art of War to nothing? Like good Chane players know, I've got my creepers up at a non-attack in my arsenal. If I draw 2 attacks, I've got 1 in banish. Like I can play 5. I can attack 3-4 times. It like I want to play decks like that. I just don't like the counter points to it where it's like Chane, all of that with Chane, totally fine. If they had to run the Aether Ironweave, I would have 0 complaints ever about Chane because the deck feels so skill intensive. The Husk is annoying, and I think that's the thing is like some of the armor pieces feel really well balanced and completely inside of like the perfect power design, and then other ones you're like, man, that teeters on like this really fine line, right? Like Crown of Seeds was fine in Oldham. It was annoying and everybody wanted it banned, but let's be real, like the one damage, it really only did anything to certain decks. Other decks it didn't touch at all. But then Starvo got it. Now everyone's like, Crown of Seeds is busted. It's awful. But it's because it's really, now it's basically
in a deck
being
that
used.
Abuses. Doesn't even necessarily need to be that thing that it's abusing. It just is.
Yeah, it needs to cycle its hand. Yeah, to
it'll
do
go
the
back to being
thing.
a good card.
Actually, I take that back. Starvo does abuse Crown really well. So
yeah, 100%. Well, it's because what he's able to do with it is replace the card he doesn't need to reveal
compared to like, I mean, of all of the characters, that ability basically, if you had just Starvo without the crown and people were greedy, what would they ask for? A way to fix their hand so that they could reveal more. What does crown do?
Right.
Exactly. So ban crown.
Everything you need to know about that card is told by the fact that Jason, I don't know if you've ever played a Starvo match where you got your crown exposed pretty early, but I'll tell you what, that deck plays a whole lot different when you can't crown, because I think beyond just being able to crown and cycle your hand, it's your arsenal, because sometimes you're just left with a bad card in arsenal. Like in that deck, sometimes you reveal, you attack, you pitch the ice, and you're left with a lightning card that you don't really want. So you just drop it in your arsenal and send it away and try to get something better. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know why I'm so happy Starvo's gone? Because I did that to Adam on turn 2 against Starvomir. I exposed his crowns, and he proceeded to reveal the next 6 turns and win. So he's like, well, fuck you taking my crown. I'm still going to win and just reveal my way out. So that just shows you how broken that deck was.
You know what that is? That is someone like, I got lucky, I'm going to win now. And the other person is being like, I'm getting luckier, I'm going to win more than you.
Oh, for sure. Me getting it super early was lucky to get early.
Yes.
And then him just like, well, if you're going to get, 100%.
You shat on my luck parade with your luck parade, you fucker. Yeah.
You both bet on games, and you were like, "Hey, I won $100," and he's like, "Well, I won 1,000." So
yeah, the worst part is as the losing player who takes another Starvo's Crown of Seeds, it's probably one of the most demoralizing things in this game. You're just like, "Well, fuck it, I hate this game." Everybody else. That's how I felt after that game.
So we're talking a little bit about kind of like wish lists right now, right? About next set. I more than anything.
Yes,
because we're talking about like equipment and what we want equipment to look like, right? I just want my legendary sets. Like I just want like my hero. I want to Diablo that shit. because we've been playing Diablo Immortal, which if you haven't and you like Diablo, fucking play that game. It's great. But I just want to be able to like have my legendary armor, you know? Like I want my Mask of Momentum, and I want my legendary chest piece that we don't have yet, and legendary gloves, and Breeze Rider boots. Majestic. That's fine. But like, I just want like I want to like upgrade my armor.
Full legendary suite.
You know?
Yeah.
Full legendary suite.
And then while they're at it, if they want to make like
would love that too.
equipment attachments that are like gems or something.
Does anybody have a full legendary suite? Now I'm trying to think in my head if anybody's close to having that.
A full
Dorinthia's close.
Suite.
Or
if you don't
Warrior.
Yeah. I mean, Warrior has everything but the
generics.
chest piece. The chest piece is the Majestic.
As a Majestic. Yeah.
No, but I just consider Tunic as a legendary that you can fill in that spot. She just doesn't have any legendary arms to put there.
I mean,
yeah.
Well,
she doesn't have a cap that's Majestic.
Warrior, yeah, her cap. Warrior's specific cap is majestic, but they've got the Arcanine. Fits pretty.
Yeah, they
decently.
use the skull cap. Yeah, I mean, if you use skull cap and Tunic, then a lot of decks have a legendary.
That's
suite.
fair. That's fair.
Full suite though. Does anybody have a full suite that it makes sense to run those? I was just trying. I don't know. That's for, we don't have to go.
If you count those as legendaries for the class, then Warrior does because they can run Valiant Dynamo and Braveforge Bracers.
Braveforge. Oh, I forget. Braveforge Bracers is legendary. I was thinking it wasn't. So yes. Yep. So she has a legendary suite right now.
She would. Yep. She would run legendary everything.
Yep.
I mean, Wizard would, if Wizard gets a cap, Wizard would be. Oh, I guess it wouldn't be. It's not legendary arms. It's
no, because
arms.
Metacarpus is majestic.
That's
so I'll be curious.
Yeah.
I like majestic equipment.
Yeah,
I don't think all common equipment has to be so underwhelming, even though, Nullrune has stood the test of time, and Ironhide and Iron Rot are put in there. Now we did see, I should take that back, Talisman, and now we're seeing Ragamuffin used, but I like that.
I like
more
common
good
equipment.
common equipment. You like?
I like the one or two that are like playable in Classic Constructed per set. And then like just leaving it at that, or not even like 1%, if that, where it's like you get like a random common and you're like, oh, this actually is good in this specific build. That's it. That's fine. I don't think that common. I think common is supposed to be just great for the sealed and draft.
I like Majestic. I think they found like a sweet spot of making some of the core and best cards for the decks being legendaries. Like most of the classes have one legendary piece of equipment. Typically, that's kind of like the necessary piece. I don't think that any class have two that feel absolutely necessary to play the game.
Majestic or legendary? Sorry, I messed up.
Legendary. Maybe Chane does because he wants Grasp and he wants Spellbound Creepers.
Yeah.
I mean, and he wants Husk. Like Chane is probably the most expensive.
Yeah, Chane is that. Don't know why I didn't think of that. He does have the full, especially with Husk, which
with Husk
now
and Skullcap.
And Skullcap, he had full, and that's the best way to run it. Because that's how I ran it last weekend.
Yeah, I mean, if you're lower on life, not using the creepers, you can block for 10, which is pretty ridiculous.
I did pull I ran Quill Hands in the mirror. And it won the game because of that. Yeah. Because I actually think one, that extra 2 rune chance when I went for game.
Yeah.
Just to that 2 points of damage put me over the top.
I think that maybe like that's actually like one of my favorite Majestic equipment designs now, is because I think because starting to bring in, I think that's like the perfect spot for it. Something that you have to break that has a benefit, but also has arcane barrier on it. We've seen that Ranger has that in her arms, like they've got their bracers, and I like that equipment. Even Dash with her boots, like there's multiple equipment with arcane barrier that are break it to use it, which I think is a great balancing point.
And shock charmers do the same thing.
Yeah.
Shock charmers is I think it was underused and is now being utilized much more. Just the spell void too.
This is a spell void,
huge. And being able to fix your opening hand and just pitching it to shock charmers is pretty amazing.
Yeah.
It's really point in the game.
It's interesting now to see how the design of the equipment is definitely more dynamic, which is something that's really, I'm interested what they'll do we were talking about this on Tuesday at our armory, which was the equipment coming this set is interesting because it's been a while since we've seen the potential of equipment for those 3 classes that like supports existing classes all the way across the board. And they can make it so that way it supports all the way across the board versus like a Crown of Seeds, which is only Elemental Guardian and kind of locks out other Guardians. I'm curious what they'll do because we've got 6 legendaries, I believe, coming this set. So the question is, how are they going to do? We get like 1 wizard, 1 illusionist, and 1 ninja, and a draconic, an ice, and a generic?
That would make sense. That'd be
right.
Mix.
Well, I'm still not convinced that like the ninja's not going to be like a third. Have they announced that it's going to be like a third class? Like
Talent?
That's what I meant.
Talent?
Like a third talent,
separate
like
talent?
Phoenix or Flame or something.
Fire.
Yeah.
Fire.
I'm not convinced that that's not going to be like a third talent yet.
Yeah. I mean, maybe.
So,
I think
I don't know.
some people are still convinced there's going to be a 4th hero, but
yeah, that's true. Ice Brute, baby.
Ice Brute? Is that what you just said? Ice Brute?
Yeah,
Ice Brute.
It was Van Sant.
Yeah, the
posted, like,
amazingly
his-
printed. Yes, the printed on top. Yes, that's good stuff right there. That's quality entertainment.
so I think so. We have to talk about our ProQuest season. Season 2, week 3, like the recap, right? We have to kind of talk about what happened this last week. So, I got the article up, so I'll just kind of do a quick, run through of some of the pertinent information. 94 events over 28 countries. We had the first ProQuest ever in Slovakia, which that's cool. It's cool to see more and more countries come in. We have Chane, Bound by Shadow, had 19 wins, pushing him to the brink of extinction. So he is now 3 wins away. 3. He needs 3 wins this week.
I want everyone to just not play Chane and watch everybody that like had puckered buttholes just like all relax simultaneously. Could you imagine if no one played Chane? They're just like, we want.
Well, what happened? What if we have a Bravo situation where he falls 4 points short and he's at 996 at the end of the ProQuest season? Do you think they push him out, or they're like, well,
nope? I think they
the next what's after Uprising in September?
I don't think Chane's an issue right now. I think they let that ride.
Yeah. I think Chane is. We kind of talked about that last week. I think Chane will be seen by the community as like this. It was very well described in the comments. I think Andrew. He comments a lot. He always has high quality comments. So I always appreciate when he pops up. I always read them. But he said something to the effect of like Chane is like the emo teenager who annoys you when he's a teenager, but then he kind of grows into himself and you accept him as he gets older. And I think that's true. Like everybody when Chane first came out, it's just like, oh, just go away. Just for the love of God, just die. I hate you so much. And then he kind of grew into himself after all of the nerfs and adjustments. And it was like, oh yeah, Chane's not so bad. Like I don't mind Chane. He's okay. He's
like
pretty fair and interesting now.
You have to play him well. I don't mind that you can't just run cards. You actually do have to block, and there's a lot of decision points.
You play to your points. Yeah, he's good. Bravo, Starvo racked up 36 more wins, so he's gonna. By the time he leaves, he's gonna be at like 160% capacity.
Yeah.
My question to the community
is proof in and of itself
how problematic he is.
Well, no, of how good of an answer LSS provided with the banning of Autumn's Touch.
That was the card. That card really made that deck broken.
So I
still have anger. I still have anger in my heart for everyone that was like, it's such a good solution.
We're not gonna rehash that.
We can't. I know.
You're all idiots.
I know.
You're an idiot.
We can't get back into it again. But I still have it.
We all do,
and that's my fault.
If you,
that's my fault
anybody
for having that. No. I should control
anybody
my emotions,
who said it.
But that makes me angry.
Anybody who said it is terrible at understanding game philosophy. It's just the dumbest, most awful take ever to act like Starvo would be okay.
But here's a question.
Yeah.
Here's a question.
Yeah.
if you played Starvo this week at your ProQuest, why? Like,
yeah.
Do you need a Pro Tour invite that bad that you have to play Starvo this weekend? France, baby. I'm talking to you too, Adam, because you played it, and I was very disappointed in you.
I was very
disappointed. Looking at you and down upon you in my disappointment that you played that deck.
I would like to point out that when Adam admitted that he was playing Starvo, Jason's immediate response was boo, and I found a GIF of Ralphie from The Simpsons eating paste. So that was how we treated Adam for doing that. So
I love you, Adam.
But it's like,
come back on.
I'm gonna play Lexi this weekend, and I practiced with her on Tuesday, and I learned to count like if you're a Detroit Lions fan, and this is an old common bit. I counted 0-1, 0-2, 0-3. So that's how I learned to count this week on Lexi on Tuesday. I learned a ton playing her, but I got my shit kicked in. Oldham was pretty much impossible. I didn't try to set up enough on that, so that was bad. Then I played Adam. I felt a little bit better because it was a really close game, but I still lost. And then on one turn, Bates took me from 38 to 6.
What was Bates on?
Then Kano, 38 to 6. Kano. So then for him, it's just block and chip damage until I'm dead. Because I had to break I had to do my shock charmers on his. And if I didn't have shock charmers, I'd just die on that turn.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because that 2 damage would have stacked so much more
across the board.
Yep. Yeah. So I'm gonna play Lexi, but I learned a ton because she's very. And this is my reasoning.
Just run Death Dealer Lexi. Just go back to. Remember when this set came out?
It's fun. It was fun.
Just fucking go. Just burn, baby.
You can win games with it. But I wanted a deck that I had to really think about that wasn't Kano, because I've played Kano plenty. I played him with the Calling. So I just want another deck to think different lines to get your thought process going for Uprising. If you're playing Starvo and that's all you're doing and you're getting wins, it's going to be very tough when Uprising comes out to get wins if you have that mindset.
Are you talking about anyone in particular?
I'm talking about everybody that loves Starvo and that's all you've played. If that's all you've played. There's hundreds of people that's all they've played Starvo.
Right. And so I think here's the issue, right? Is their real issue is going to be what happens when LSS prints Uprising or Uprising comes out and we go, man, this set is so well balanced. This is fantastic. Because the people who are playing Starvo probably played Briar and they probably played Siege Chane, which means in their entire life of playing Fab, they've never even thought about how to play Fab for real. Like they've never actually had to play the game Flesh and Blood. They just played a deck where they ate crayons and won games. There's like, I play Seeds 8 times. I play Riftbind.
I love Robert.
Blake is not trying to offend anybody. He is offending you. Okay, not trying. He's straight up doing it.
I will not apologize. There's no world where
there is no try in Blake. This is full on.
No,
yeah, we're calling you out.
I love Robert's way of describing it the best, where he says, "I'm gonna play Briar and Blitz because I just vomit damage, and then I look up and I say, 'Are you dead yet?' And then you say yes or no. And if the answer is no, then I just go, and I vomit more damage. And then I look up and I say, 'Are you dead yet?' And he says yes or no. I was like, that is perfect. Yep. That is exactly what is happening.
Yeah. Just play decks that you don't wait until people who have played those 3 decks sit down and they go, wait, so how do you use a defense reaction? I don't understand how to use defense cards because I don't defend. I just attack and I make you block.
They wouldn't ask that question.
They would just,
is the issue is they would just go. They would just be losing. They would lose and they would bitch about how unfair or unbalanced the current game is because they wouldn't have the practice of knowing how to get efficient blocks throughout a turn, how to weigh, because they haven't had to think. They haven't had to go through the thought process of, what damage am I going to take, analyzing their deck and what I think their cards are that they are running, what I haven't seen this game so far. What else can they output with the rest of their turn? They have 3 cards in hand and 1 in arsenal, 2 cards in hand and 1 in arsenal, whatever. What's that output going to look like? What can I do to best mitigate it with what I have in my hand? To clap back with something that, what do I have for options for damage output on my end? And how to balance that and think through that whole process. It's not earth, ice, lightning.
Yeah,
No, okay, seeds and earth, ice, lightning. Like that's fucking
the classic. Or when you hit the top one, which this is my new favorite one, is I have determined that you're obviously eating crayons, but what happens when you crayon an Old? Maximum crayon. That's what you have accomplished. Maximum crayons.
Yeah, so here's where I'm hoping the game goes. I would love it where you maybe have to put in 3 to 6 defense reacts in your deck, just because it makes the deck better and makes it function better. And I love attack reactions. Like a lot of these decks just got away from it because they didn't need that. Now you had like lightning press and things like that, but like Art of War I think is a better. I love that interaction with Art of War to give the +1. There's just so many other like that card I love.
That's still like a valid play too. Yeah,
right. But that's what I'm saying. I'm saying that type of play is what I love in the game, where you as the opponent think you blocked it perfectly, and then you're like, no, you didn't. This is how I can go over the top. That's what I like about this game. Just outpouring stupid damage just for damage, and you can't even block it if you want. I really hope that's gone. I really, really hope that's completely gone in this. I like dominate.
Super interesting.
But you have to do a lot. You shouldn't, like, Bravo's dominate is a valid dominate, because one, when Bravo, and I'm talking about OG Bravo, when you didn't want to dominate always early game, you wanted the person to start blocking with lots of cards, and you dominate later game. So it was a balance of how you played that deck. It wasn't just dominate because I can and just win, but you had to balance how you did those attacks, setting up your pummels, knowing when you're going to use your big defense reactions. That, and I'm pretty much repeating what I've already said. That's what I want. I'm hoping the game is more balanced than that. Well, I think if it is, we could see at the first RTN like 10 viable decks.
Yeah, because half the game would be viable again. Yeah,
right. And that to me, just not knowing who you're going to face, it when you're building your deck, not knowing what decks it just brings so much into the game, and then it's a puzzle when you sit down and be like, okay, I didn't think I was going to be playing this deck today. How am I going to puzzle it out? How am I going to sideboard this?
Yeah.
And it just brings it back to a true player's game, which I believe it was through Crucible.
Yeah, I think the big difference is, I think one of the issues and like one of the disconnects for a lot of people is historically in TCGs, there needs to be like a rock, paper, scissors format at all times so that people can build answers in their deck, because there's a world, there's like no world where you feel comfortable with, A beats B, B beats C, C beats A. You never feel comfortable being in a position where you're like, this is your losing matchup. There's nothing you can do about it. You can sideboard for it all you want, but you're probably going to lose it. You're trying to like put stuff in to answer a specific deck or play style because it's so specific in how it does it, right? Whether it's Blue and Magic or in other games where it's just all about countering things or stopping things from happening. And I think that's where like Fab is so different, because people refer to Oldham or OG Bravo as control decks, but realistically, they're not control decks. Like there's no such thing really so far in Fab as a true control deck.
Everybody is like the closest
we've got, but typically in control decks, you're countering things. Like she's very aggressive control, and the fact that she's trying to disrupt control you, and that's what, Oldham fatigued you. OG Bravo was in the middle. Like he played a fatigue style game, but did a lot of the disruptive control elements. And I think that's where like
OG Bravo do those disruptive. I guess like the discard and
crippling
stuff, right?
crush, spinal crush, pummeling you.
Yeah,
like he was always taking cards. Yeah. And I think that's the thing is like, if you look at how the game is structured, there's the play style of like true control doesn't exist. Like there's a whole wide section of the game that is like a control or disruption archetype or style, because even Azalea kind of functions more in like a disruptive control version, but she plays dominates and drives home a lot of damage too. So she doesn't really do the same thing, but she does a different thing, but she does the same thing. And I think that's where people have to shake the mindset of like, people in card games don't typically want wide fields because they feel like they can't prepare well for major events. But in Fab, you can have a game plan against a specific like archetype or style of play, and then you have to institute it kind of on the fly, to Jason's point, right? Like and then in certain matchups, you go like Kano into Oldham, you go, I have one win con and that's it. It's a bad matchup for me, but I find a win con, because in Fab, it feels like every deck has a way to functionally build a win con against another deck.
Yeah. Nothing is completely out unless you play Azalea. But like I will say that those are good points. And I was going to ask, before you got into that, I was actually going to ask, how much do we think that LSS is taking into account human nature right now? Because I think that they could build a balance, like you can build a balanced game. It would be super boring. So you got to introduce like some deviations in that, like standard mathematical equation, right, to make it interesting. But I'm convinced that they could build they could have just not put out Starvo, right? How important do you think they view interest in the game being tied to having like that the deck that beats the deck and the field that beats the deck that's teched to beat the deck? You know what I mean? Like that. Without Starvo, like literally Starvo all of it felt so forced and just forced in general, that it made me question a lot of things. And I was almost like, they are like stiff arming him to the front, right? Why? And do you think it's because without him, like it's actually balanced to the point where the field is too wide open and people can't really like tech or prep?
You should. Why is that bad though?
Well, I don't think that the field is.
Then how satisfying is that to go in like, fuck it, I guess, like fuck it. I don't see. I don't know. I don't know. I'm just thinking. I'm thinking about broader picture, like human nature. How much it is to like see a target. Build something to crush that target.
Different archetypes that you could see 6-7 legitimate winning archetypes in a game, and I think that's okay for the game to happen.
Yeah. I mean, James White said that there are better decks and worse decks. You can't make everything good. It's just not possible. Like realistically, in a balancing world, you're going to have some decks that are better and some decks that are worse. I don't know if they ever thought Starvo was going to be as good as he is, or Azalea as like, she struggles as much as she does, because like she tops, but God, that deck is like never going to win anything at this rate. It seems like no matter how many truthers are out there. But I think that we could exist in a world where there are more decks that are viable. And just if you took Starvo out, I don't think it immediately makes everything viable.
No,
because
God, no. Well, it's not. Sorry, I wasn't trying to say that.
No, yeah. I'm just saying, like, I think then you get into an actual triangle versus like when Starvo is here, it's like Starvo's like, I'm the king, and everybody has to try and beat me. Whereas if Starvo just never existed, it would be Prism and Chane, and then how do you beat those decks?
Yeah. So my thought to finish out the complete cycle of that thought, right, was that they needed something to hold over until they had the true triangle in place. Because like you said too, and like we've all agreed, I think, I don't know, talk to Blake about it at least, but that there has not been a true control, like disruptive control centric deck
until
Icelander. And I think that's coming with Icelander. I think that is what Icelander is going to do. Her win con is going to be control both sides of the board state until she can establish her win con and then win. And that didn't exist yet. So in the interim, we're going to create this false interest, this false like boogeyman, something for people to fight against, something for people to tech for, into Starvo. Let that go, and then now we're gonna have a true possibility at a triangle format. I don't know. I think that's where my brain went.
Yeah, I think the issue is they made it very clear that Starvo is tested with like Plunder Run Briar, which
in Seeds Chane.
I would be very curious to see what Starvo would look like playing against, because I don't think that Starvo has a very good matchup. I think Starvo becomes a Guardian and not an Elemental deck.
Well, I read that. That makes me think, so that means that they were aware of and had fully tested Plunder Run Briar.
I think they were playing,
if they were aware, if they said we put Starvo into this meta knowing that Plunder Run Briar existed, that means that they knew Plunder Run Briar existed during that meta. So it's like they put her out knowing what she could do.
Right.
Which is like, okay, again, Briar.
She's another interesting deck that spiked to power and then quickly started going backwards as more people played counters to her.
That's true. She actually did have people like people were.
She had a lot more
Bravo
outs.
had a great matchup into her,
and even Ice Lexi, Ice Lexi, if she didn't play, if you don't brick with Ice Lexi, that makes all the difference in the world. And I think that's a huge thing, right? Is if you have 3 decks that beat that deck, then all of a sudden now there's other decks like kind of waiting around the corner that are like, okay, just push Briar back a little bit.
The guy in the bushes.
I mean, I don't think they did that just for the fact that this has been a horrible meta to play in for the past month. They should have just got rid of him before the Pro Tour and made it a wide open field and took professionals. So these are your best card players. So what do we want you to do? We want you to take the easiest fucking deck to pilot, and that's what we want you to play. Instead of let's get rid of him and see the creativity we can get out of the best players in the world.
I do think that was a missed opportunity because I would have way loved to see. Do you know how much interest and buzz would have been generated had they just said Starvo's banned? What's going to happen? What's going to happen in 3 weeks?
I mean, look at what we got with the Kanos. The Kanos that popped up. I mean, we knew Alexander Vore is going to run Kano because that's all he's run. But for Brendan and Hayden to run him, Sasha we probably assumed would run him just because. But they came up with a new way for Kano to win games, and that was a meta call based on low AB. But that's fine. That's what they did. They made a meta call, which was a correct call, and a lot of Kanos did very well. So but the disappointment of not seeing worldwide players with different small metas come with weird decks. Like how many more Lexus
just an opportunity
would you seen in Azalea? How many more Bravos would you see? Would you see any Dorys that worked on something crazy to come up with? There was just, like you said, opportunity missed there. Obviously, Pro Tour France is in August, so we're going to be on will we be at a stale meta at that time, or will we be ever evolving still?
I think if we get Uprising and Uprising feels balanced, I think we're in that situation where the game will feel like it, it'll feel like a game of inches, right? Like it's every adjustment will matter into your bad matchups, and will they try to counter your counters, and it becomes a very challenging game to play because it's very, very skill intensive, which is what Flesh and Blood is. That's what you want the game to be.
I enjoy making small tweaks in decks of 3 to 6 cards based on the meta I am playing in for locals, and then looking at other metas and be like, okay, now we're in a countrywide meta, so that's not going to be as prevalent. So now I'm going to adjust 3 to 6 cards. To me, that's an exciting and amazing experience to be a part of.
Yeah, I love that. And I love talking to people about it too, like figuring out, like working with a group. Like I finally got that experience a little bit with like some of the prison players locally. Cause like you guys have had the Cult of Bravo from like the very beginning where you're just like chatting up like Kale regularly about like adjustments and like what you're testing now. And it's like, I fucking hate Bravo. So I'm going to sit over here with my thumb and we're going to talk about the decks that I like to play. But I will say that with this new set coming out, I'm really curious, and this is just to hype up maybe our spoilers a little bit too, but like I was thinking about what we got, and I don't know how much more, like if they came out with like 6 more cards or like cycles like these, I feel like that deck gets pretty oppressive pretty quick. You know what I mean? Like I feel like it can't be it can't
to
be
a point,
crazy.
To a
right?
point, but that's where I said D-reacts and things might be forced back into the meta because of those.
For sure.
Because then you can just shut down. Their whole plan is you blocking improperly. All right.
Yeah.
Dory. We'll use Dory as an
Yeah.
example to not give away anything, because I almost use a really bad example. So I'm going to use Dory as my example. So Dory punishes a bad block more than any deck and gets destroyed by a good block. That's where these cards come in, where they will punish a bad block. So if you're the aggressor, you have to figure out how can I hide good plays into that? What can I do to hide good plays? Like with my +1 Art of War, or because using too many attack reacts and D reacts, just you get those occasional bad hands. And so once again, balancing the game to have that right balance of cards coming in and out and sideboard, big, huge sideboard changes based on your matchup.
Yeah.
So it'll be, I get what you're saying, Dane. Cause yes, that if you block our spoilers bad, you're going to get punched in the dick.
And they're not necessarily,
I don't know
they're not necessarily attack actions either. Let's just clarify that to throw people for a huge loop.
Yeah, I mean, Dory plays actions.
They're warrior cards, so that's the spoiler right there.
Dory plays like a +3 action and swings her sword, and then attack reactions. And if you don't block those cards properly,
I'm fine saying this because it's been like, because people have had like some misdirection already, but like 3 weapons? ?
I mean, there you go.
You have boots that have a shiv in the boots. Pay 1 to shiv them.
Hidden weapon.
That's a new weapon.
You can tuck into your armor.
Here's okay. So I was just thinking of this because we're talking weapons with different names, and or like a variety of weapons. Right now we have 2 Dory weapons. We have Dawnblade, Dawnblade Splendid. So here's a really important question. One of the things about Fab is, like, when we start to get doubled up heroes, because we've always had young and old, but then we had Starvo and OG Bravo. Now we have a second Dory. Reinar remained the same; he was unchanged, but we have Dory. Dory Quicksilver Prodigy or whatever.
Yep.
So the question is, like, what's her name? What do we call Dory? Is this just Dory 2, or is, I mean, it's
maybe we actually go with Thea Community for this one, since that's what she's fucking called. Like, let's just go with
call her
Thea,
D2.
her actual.
We'll call her D2.
D2. And if
Reiner comes out with a second
D2,
one, it could have been R2.
D3.
It could have been R2D2. It could have been R2D2 pack, and they just completely lost that opportunity.
They missed a shot. They missed their chance.
Missed it.
I did notice that somebody. I haven't gotten the starter yet because I wasn't in a big hurry to get it, honestly, and so I haven't picked it up yet. Mainly because I wanted to make sure locally, like, because I didn't want cards out of it and didn't need them. I was like, I'll just wait to buy them until I feel like
you're such a martyr. For a week or We're good locally, Blake. You can buy.
I mean, we are good locally. I'll pick one up eventually. I wasn't in a big hurry. I just wanted to make sure, like, it wasn't going to come in like 2 or 3 waves. You know what I mean? So,
taking your photo, Jason? Did you just take your photo?
I always take my photo while other people are talking.
He does take his photo. Yeah.
I just noticed him pulling his shirt up. I was like,
yeah, I'm pulling my shirt up like that. Yeah, people get a preview of the thumbnail.
So in the in the lore book, I guess they refer to her as Thea. The little lore book.
Yeah, that's like shortened, like her name, what her parents call her.
What?
It's Thea. Do you remember having this conversation early when it was during skirmishes when Dorinthia was huge, right? And like she was like
people
the deck
always
to beat in the States.
Yeah.
And everyone started calling like Dory, and we were like, Thea? And no one it's just Dory.
Never caught on.
Yep.
So other interesting things that came out this week, because I thought this was actually pretty cool. I usually try to go to the website and check any articles back to double check things. One of the things that I thought was interesting is they have the Calling Utrecht coming up and in July, and they have an interesting like event that they have, or they have some interesting events. They have History Pack 1 constructed. is going to be an event. So an actual history pack format, just to let people play. Basically, people are going to be able to play WTR, Arc, and Crew all over again, which is pretty cool.
That's kind of
so
cool.
I thought that was cool. And then they're going to do a history pack team sealed event. So 3 players will get 24 packs amongst them, and they'll get to build 3 decks.
I like that.
Actually,
I like that a lot, just because that makes it a little more forgiving with the wide variety of classes and stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So cross leveling. That's cool. I like that a lot, actually.
Yeah,
I'm really digging the team event stuff. I am so excited for the team event in Vegas. Like,
don't choke for your team. I mean, don't be that guy. Just saying, don't be that guy.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to.
Hey, speaking of team events, I thought it was really interesting that Tarek posted a poll. I don't know if you guys saw that on Twitter, that there's this like sub meta game, right? So there's the meta game. What blitz decks will people be playing? There's the sub meta game. Where would you sit in Oldhim?
In order, yeah. You put them in
C,
second,
A, B,
third,
or C.
Yep.
That's the question.
There's literally.
I don't know. What do you? I don't know about that.
So Jason, okay, so here's the this is kind of how team events work. You come as a team, but you predetermine player A, B,
I mean, I
and
prefer
C.
to come as a team, but
yeah, I mean, that's how you should always come.
Yes.
A, B, and C represent. That's kind of weird. Come as a team. So seed A,
so
B,
distracted.
and C.
He's not used to it. You always come as a team.
I always, yeah. So you have seats A, B, and C. You determine who those players are before the event starts, and then A plays A, B plays, like that down the row. The idea is you always sit A, B, C. You can't like mix everybody up based on who wants to sit in a different order.
Yep.
So typically you put your fastest or best player in the middle, because you can talk amongst yourselves as a team. So if you have if 2 lines of play, you can ask each other what you think you should do.
I really like that part of team. I think that's probably the coolest part of team is to get an opinion from somebody else.
Yep.
And I hope to hear about huge, like when you guys come back, you'd be like, oh, this one team, they're fucking arguing. They couldn't decide. Like, I'm hoping here. Those are the stories I'm waiting for. Just like team members walking out. No, that's not the play.
I'm so excited too, because I think, I mean, I don't know. I've put because as soon as you mentioned it, I was like, I know what he's going to talk about is like the order, like the seat order. Like,
yeah,
because if we're being honest, you probably sit middle, right? Like that's probably where that goes, just because you're on what you're on. And so but I want to see you be like talking to me or talking to Robert and listening to the advice that they're giving and being like, well, I mean, I won. And if I had to guess, like based on that guy's plays, he's probably telling them to like, not go aggressive here. Like, I mean, he should, but he's not. Yeah. Like, just like get like that, like in their heads thing going.
Play the head games.
Yeah,
play the head
like
games.
He's probably. I mean, they're probably talking about like not doing this, but like just block this out, because he doesn't. I mean, it's probably not good advice. So
he's not going to play it. He's not going to play a defense reaction. He doesn't even have defense reactions. I'll bet he doesn't have defense. Just try to get people to play improperly on purpose by talking about it.
Because there is a part of people's brains, especially like when you get into the subculture of like geeks who are becoming like, because I mean, okay, so we are all very A-type. Like we have played sports, like we've been leaders to some degree in some form, professionally, whatever it is. But there's like in people's brains, there's that little lizard brain where it's like, you told me to do something, fuck you. I'm going to not do that because you told me to do that. I know I should block here, but you just said, I better block. So now I'm not going to, because fuck you. Like that exists.
Or you can, like you could talk people out of something and be like, look, there's no way he can out tempo you if he takes all this damage. So like just put all the damage out there. And if he takes it, he cannot possibly clap back enough to try to get them to subconscious like, oh, but there's no way I can't.
What is he going to output this turn?
There's no way. There's no way. So they just like take the first shot.
It's going to be so much fun. Dude, especially with their outfits. Oh, dude.
Yeah, Jason, I don't know if we've talked to you about this. So we decided to follow suit because we've got there you go. So we've got the new Wraith Order is what you've got, Ian runs with his team. And then you've got Zach from Team Covenant has his Wolf Pack. So we decided to hold true to the outcast nature and go with the best wrestling team of all time, with the best wrestling crew of all time, the Degeneration X.
Yeah, Shawn Michaels.
Yeah,
it was great. Sweet in music.
HBK. Yeah, I'm.
Somebody
really...
needs to have blackout kick in your deck. So now somebody has to run ninja just so you can blackout kick and be like, sweet chin music, bitch. Boom.
My thing is, all I can think is my brain is there's at least I want to play somebody I know at least one time, only because I need to get a gauge on the other team before I do it. But I desperately want to do the thing where they do like the double layer suck it, like where one guy's behind the other guy.
If we win,
like
we're gonna triple stack suck it. That's just has.
Can you do that?
Yeah,
I don't know. I mean,
physically, yes.
We got a kid.
We can.
It was the greatest. It's the greatest celebration ever. After scoring a goal, sat down and used a stick as it like he was rowing a boat out the river. Like comes up. Oh, it was great. Take the penalty.
Have you ever seen maybe the best sports celebration of all time? It actually, believe it or not, was in a soccer game somewhere in Europe. I assume. I think. I don't know. All I know is a guy goes in, right, scores a goal. Then he runs over and he goes like this and he casts his fishing rod and he starts doing this, and a guy is on the ground wobbling towards him like a fish, and then the other guys help pick him up and hold it like a trophy, and one guy kneels down and takes a picture of it.
That is such a Minnesota
elaborate.
Well, Brian Robinson used to do the
lasso
when you get a Zach.
Yeah. And then you had Jared Allen with the lasso. He would hog tie.
Yeah,
after he got a sack, he'd get up.
Those are probably my two favorite sack celebrations: the hog tie or the cow tie, and then the hook set.
Yeah.
Big fan.
All right. Well, we are like coming up on an hour, so.
Yeah.
Is there anything else we want to talk about? I love how second podcast
Saga Lakes Lacrosse section quarterfinals, 18-3 victory. We got semifinals coming up Tuesday at home. Very important for the Fab community to know about that.
Yeah, for sure. Send tweets. Send love. How's Mace doing? He got injured last week, right? How's he feeling? He was good tonight?
Yeah, he dominates.
Good.
Like usual.
Good to hear. I love that was the second podcast in a row that we hyped up our wrestling team choice. That makes me feel really, really excited for debuting that. But I got nothing else. Be sure to follow us on Twitter. We are climbing super fucking slowly towards 1,600. So let's amp that shit up. Share the podcast. Let your friends know if they think that if their sense of humor or if we're their style of bullshit, share it, because when they hit 1,600, giving a rebirth giveaway. So that'll be coming your guys' way as well. And follow us all on Twitter. That's all marked now on our background. And that's all I really got for you guys. Any last thoughts?
I don't think so.
No, I got nothing.
Sweet. Peace.